Hello and welcome. Keep your hand in your skirt. My name is Sabrina Brightstar. I am your host, Keep Your Hand in Your Skirt podcast. Today's topic is going to be about your nervous system, how to regulate your nervous system, why most of us have dysregulated nervous systems, and how we can have compassion for ourselves and actually for others. So before we get into it, please like and subscribe. I appreciate that. So, dysregulated nervous systems. Most of us are sensitive. We are empaths. We are highly intuitive. We are highly sensitive. So we pick up on all the energy in the room, right? We pick up on all of the stuff. And most of our parents, as imperfect people, without perfect role models, most of our caregivers and our parents did not have the tools to give us comforting, balanced, regulated nervous systems. So as a young child, as a baby, when you were picking up on the energy of the room and you could sense something was off, something wasn't safe, something didn't feel clear, sometimes people will smile, their face is all like love, but you can just feel like it's not congruent with the energy. And as sensitives and as empaths, it's confusing because there's a smile, they might be saying, I love you, but you're feeling they fucking hate you and they can't stand you. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm faking a smile. So it's confusing as a young person or as any person, it's confusing when words or gestures don't match the energy that we're picking up on. So most of us, have had different trauma, different things that have happened to us that have made us feel unsafe. And as a result of that, the 4 signs that happen when you feel unsafe, when you have trauma, are fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. So most of us have a combination of all of them, but we tend to lean in a little bit more to one or the other. So how is that information valuable? Well, first of all, it is so valuable because you don't know what you don't know, right? So I just recently discovered this year of 2023 how much I fawn. I am a fawner. Let me reclaim that. I was a fawner, but now I have the awareness, so I no longer do it. What is fawning? Fawning is when you are so dysregulated, you feel so unsafe, you feel so unprotected, you feel so vulnerable, you're trying to protect yourself, so you pretend that everything is fine. You pretend everything is great. You sacrifice your own self to take care of somebody else. You're a codependent, a people pleaser. And so you make sure everybody else in the room is okay. And you at your own expense, right? You're so willing to cut off your own self. You're so willing to play small. And then you use your words to camouflage that everything's okay. So the people in the room can actually think you're happy. They can actually think like you're enjoying the connection or the relationship with them, right? So it's a little like unfair if the other people in the room, especially if you're with a narcissist and they are not reading the energy of the room and they're not aware that your body does not feel safe, you do not feel regulated. They have no awareness, and then all of a sudden when you maybe want to be done with the relationship or when you tell them that the friendship's not mutually beneficial, that they might be surprised and hurt because your actions looked like you were really happy and you were content and you were in love and everything was great. So it's fascinating to look at these different things. Freeze is another one that I've recently been thinking at in a new way. I always assumed freeze was like, you just stop moving. But I'm seeing and I'm discovering freeze can actually be where you kind of disappear. Like you're physically still in the room, you're physically still in a relationship or being a parent or being in the connection, but energetically or mentally you're like you've disengaged. You're kind of indifferent. You've disengaged. You've kind of zone out. Maybe people think you're a little spacey. You're not really paying attention, right? I can think of one time when I was like so dysregulated. I was like whatever, and then like so then you kind of ask the same question that you had already just asked. You're not paying attention. You're not in your body. You're not at that now moment, and you don't know that your body is automatically freezing, right? Your body is automatically disengaged because it doesn't feel safe. So you're just, you've left the room energetically, so to speak. So it's fascinating. Fight is obvious, right? A lot of people have that really fight energy. They come to the table fighting. They're the victims. It's always everybody else's fault. They're just ready to, right? They're ready to blame you. They're ready to attack you. And flight, right? You just don't deal with it. You just take off. You just disappear, right? Like no contact, ghosting. And then that was another big one in my family. I have some siblings, one sister in particular, who like would really, really hurt me because if I said or did anything she didn't like, she would give me the silent treatment. She'd just disappear. And I never knew when she was coming back. And so I was always scared that I would say or do something to make her, disappear. And so then eventually I just had the boundaries and didn't know like how to deal with it, but I knew it was not mutually beneficial. I knew it was unhealthy for myself. So I just did no contact. I separated from my siblings, right? I separated from people that my body didn't feel safe with. And I wasn't evolved enough, or I wasn't strong enough to sit down and have a conversation to explain what I was doing. At that time, like it was big enough that I could just recognize something is not mutually beneficial, something is not healthy for me. So like the only step that I could take is just disengage with those people. As my evolution has grown, as my awareness has grown, as I'm understanding more about dysregulated nervous systems and these different tools, these different surviving techniques that I was doing without awareness, I started to really, really get compassion for myself. Like I have, like I used to beat myself up that like, why don't you use your voice and go tell someone when, they're being an asshole, or when they're being manipulating, or when they're, controlling you by disappearing. Like, why don't you just go sit down and have a conversation with them so they understand like this is not acceptable to you. And I never could self-protect. I could never self-explain. It just scared the crap out of me. So I just disappeared. So now that I'm understanding, like, oh, my body was so in such a wounded, unsafe space, I did the best that I can. So I can give myself so much kindness. I can give myself so much compassion. And then as a result of me really understanding, like, oh my gosh, I was fawning, or oh my gosh, I was freezing. Now I catch it in other people. Like, for example, my siblings, I see my siblings do it. And at this point, when they engage in these survival techniques, I no longer take it personal. It doesn't hurt me anymore. It doesn't wound me anymore because I have the awareness now, right? I have the understanding now that they have similar wounds that I have. Most of us have been raised by caregivers, parents who are also dysregulated, who also had trauma, who also learned to do these self-surviving techniques. And so it doesn't mean people didn't love you. It doesn't mean people don't care, but there's just been so much dysfunctional, unhealthy things that have landed for, I would say, every one of us. So now I can really have compassion, and I can look at people and I can know it's not personal. They're not personally being an asshole to me. They have their own wound. They have their own triggers. They have their own dysregulated nervous system. So I encourage you, check out the nervous system, learn more about it, give yourself more compassion. And then the side effect is you end up giving other people more compassion. Thanks for listening.